Hello.
Hello, am I audible or is Nimrod you have lost?
Yeah, you're audible.
So it's Nimrod you have lost.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can give him a minute to come back.
And sing for us a song.
Who will sing?
Eh?
Who will sing a song?
You
Nimrod.
should sing for us.
No, I can't sing and continue facilitating. You can have somebody, or you can have a few reactions so far the discussion, even as we wait for him.
George,
Yes.
is the recession something to do like the way we had the Great Depression?
Yes. Okay, that's it leads to the Great Depression. Okay, the Great Depression was one of the recessions that we have had in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So recession speaks towards that time when people. Let me give an example. Maybe like in the Great Depression, one of the main indicators is where people had high loans and they could not afford to pay back what they had and such time. So it's the same thing. And as we shall be covering later on how well to prepare for recession. Welcome back, Nimrod. I was just answering one of the questions. We lost you.
I am found.
And somebody was saying you should sing a song and you come back.
I don't think there is anyone I've seen in this room who can sing. If any of you would sing, they'll move the crowd. Yani wataenda. I was stuck with the avocado price that you had to pay last, and I'm so sorry about that. So I was saying, all of us somehow, not even somehow, really identify with what George is sharing. And so we really need to consider we ought to face the next few years or months. And thank you for that. Now, how well can we prepare generally, George, at a personal level for, the singles in the house? How can we prepare generally for this prediction at a family level? For those who have companies, who are running companies and businesses, how do we prepare for what might be coming up? Because you have alluded to what has been happening, a build-up of inflation, and how well do we prepare?
Okay, just a minute. As I talk about how well we prepare, there's somebody who had asked about, sorry for that. I need to power my machine. Okay, how well can we be able to prepare for this? As I said, a recession, we're talking about a decline in the ability of the economy to grow positively. And some of the effect, maybe before we go to how we can be able to look at, you'll all agree with me. When COVID came and when this happening started, we've had friends who lost jobs, who lost employment. There's businesses that closed down, and people are forced to rethink. I remember like when people they were shut down and you couldn't move from one county to the other, and there was challenges. Especially there were a lot of uncertainties, especially here in coast. I remember because we highly depend on commodities coming from up country to this place, and it also happened during the ration and during that time. So some of the effect of recession and some of the things we see is high unemployment levels. We see people losing jobs. We see the cost of living going up, yet you are not able to afford, like the few instances we have talked about, the price of unga, the prices of oil. For those who are, I was in Malindi today, and I was visiting customers, and one of the questions when that we'll never miss when visiting business people is, how is the economy doing and how is your business? And they're saying one of the lessons was, the last 3 months counties are not spending. So when the county doesn't have money, it's not paying its people, our business is they're not learning normally, not able to sell as much, because the people who depend on we call it an ecosystem. The people who depend with the government spending, there are so many. So what happened is they slow the business. There seems to be, we don't have many people because the purchasing power or ability of people has gone down, because there's no there's so not so much money in circulation. So those are some of the effects. And so what happens, or how can I prepare in future, even at the time that we have? And now the financial management comes in, because now is a time where we want to look at, I need to know how do I survive the next 2-3 months, or the next few months as we move on. Because if I don't plan on how I'm going to survive, sometimes you are caught off. And that's why you see, like it happened during COVID, we had so many family issues. I don't know, Nimrod, as a pastor, whether you experienced that. We had so many conflicts within the families, and at one time people could not be able to afford 3 months of the next few months. People are in distress as we move on, because and so to better prepare for that, it starts with, what are you doing now with what you are getting? If I don't plan on how am I doing now at the personal level, sometimes you are because of, and that's why you see, I don't know how like it happened. You are prepared. If it is, there is we had so many family issues. How your 3-6 months will look like in terms as a pastor, whether you can you be able to continue if you move on, and so you're having to better prepare for that. Can you be able to what are you doing now? What you have kept, with what you are getting? And if I don't plan, most of us and most of the people, you will agree with me, we live with a hand to mouth kind of life. Yeah, what you get, what you have been looking for today is what we spend today. So tomorrow we usually leave it to God, and we say we pray for daily bread. But I don't know that that's the special. Yeah.
The scripture says, do not worry about tomorrow. It will worry for itself.
Yeah, that's what it says. But I remember also, I'm reminded of the woman who was with Elijah. And when Elijah asked for something to eat, what did she say? I have only something to eat today. At least she had something to eat. And it's out of what she had something that the blessings and what followed later. Other than saying I have nothing, if Elijah asked this lady and said I have nothing, I don't know how that story could have been. Yeah. I don't know how it could have been. And that's why we talk about financial management, so that I manage what I have, so that if I avoid as much as possible things that I don't need for now. And basically, we are saying that I need to be prepared for 3 to 6 months. That is having saving that can keep me if something like that is to happen. Is it possible? That's another question that we need to look at, the possibilities. And the possibility comes in what are you doing today? What are you doing today? And what you're doing today, we are looking at, am I depending on just one line of income? Because that become another challenge with most Kenyans and most people, why it becomes challenging. Because if one tap is closed, does that mean that's the end of life? Because from the experience we have had the last 3 years, those people who depended on one thing, they had a really tough time. But I love the spirit of Kenyans, where we quickly know how to adopt and diversify. And so in investment, we talk about diversifying on our income streams. Can I have more than one source, such that if this does not work, this other one can work? Can I have something extra that can be able to do? It may not be in terms of cash flow, but I can reduce on the cost of feed. By okay, sorry for using my example, but for example, I do farming for food security. One time somebody told me, you don't talk about food security if you cannot provide for yourself, your family, and yourself. And so I know it's not easy, but something that can be done. What can you do extra that can really help you to save on the amount you are spending, so that you don't buy a lot from outside? From the consumer aspect, I know from the entrepreneur aspect, we do want people to buy every day. We do not want people to have those alternatives you're talking about here. Talking to both sides, from the consumer aspect, if you can be able to save, and how do you save, especially during this time? Uh, it is important to look at how to buy. If you buy in wholesale, for example, you pay for less than when you are buying in retail, or fewer items. And people may ask me, where is that money to buy in bulk? Yeah, and that's what you're looking at. Can I be able to live with what I have within the means that I have, so that even as I look for alternatives, I be able to maintain what I have? That's something that we really need to look at, because we are caught off guard. We can. I don't know whether you can be able to mute those one.
For those who are cooking, Pastor Nelson, please mute all those people who are making us to think about food. Please go ahead, George.
Yeah, so it helps us to do something we call budgeting. And budgeting, it really helps us to live within our means, because if we don't budget for what we get, we end up spending even more, even what we don't have. And that's why people enter into debt. It's common these days, you ask somebody, which number do I send? Don't send this number. I don't know whether you have had those experiences. Send me on this other one. Yeah. Why? People they're already in debt. Debt is readily available these days. And if you don't avoid those temptations, don't spend more than what you have. And if it is possible, and yes, we borrow, and I also borrow. I also have somebody who bring me milk every day, and I pay them at the end of the month. But that's a choice they have chosen. I want to get the money in back, other than having every day 80 bob or 100 bob. It is good for me if I get it in back. That way, you're able to contain your budget. Other than today, you're buying 3 liters, tomorrow you're buying 1 liter, depending with how much you have. When you have a budget, when you have something that is guiding you, it will really help you to live within your means. Hello? Nimrod, are we together?
Sorry, the the host had decided to also mute me. Someone
Okay.
might lose their job. Yeah, we can hear you, George, loud and clear. You can go ahead, please.
Okay. So I was talking about a budget. It's a tool that we really usually don't do it, but at this time it's good to know, because if I ask how many people know how much they spent last month, we don't know. And that's a question I ask many Kenyans whenever I have a class. People don't know how much they're spending. People don't know how much they are using. Yet they will always tell you, I don't have enough. Enough to do what? That's a question we always, you don't have enough, but even what you have, you don't know where that money went. Yeah, you left wondering where your money went, and you live to say a story. One day I had a lot of money, if it is last, if this other time. So it is well, it is important to prepare. It is important to do those budgeting, because they really help you to what you must buy and what you don't need to buy. And I usually tell people, we usually advise people, it's very important to divide your needs and wants, because if I know what I must do, it help me to it really helped me to see, to put aside those things that I don't need to buy. Because so this is not a time to buy items that you don't really need. Buy those things that you must buy. And so a budgeting tool is very important, and it will really help us to secure our money. Because if you don't budget, when you talk about saving, for example, it will be a falling thing. Because savings, it's a very deliberate action where you say, uh, I'll be saving like 10 or 20% of my income, because of those days that I will not have, we may not have enough cash flow, or because of those things you're talking about, emergencies. You're talking about those things you're expecting to happen next year. We have those things, and we know them. We know what is going to happen. And if I don't prepare well, you may end up becoming somebody else. You'll be at the mercy of somebody else, which is not what you want. We want to live a deliberate life where we are able to plan. But somewhere in Proverbs, it says, commit your plans to the Lord. So if you don't have a plan, what do you commit? Yeah. And what does the Bible, and what does Solomon says, that we commit our plans to God, because he knows. And even Jesus talks about, who is this person who wants to build a tower, who does not sit down and, calculate the cost. We know the cost. And Jesus says, if you don't complete that, if you don't do that, you'll be mocked by your people. You'll be mocked that this person started and he never finished. So Jesus talk about planning. It is very important to plan, because financial budgeting is all about planning, and so that we want to plan ahead, so that I know what is going to happen, and I prepare for what is going to happen. Very important. If I don't, in planning, we are talking about both in terms of what my family requires, what I require in my business, for example, because also the business people, they fall again in the same thing. You find somebody, I don't know why you have had this experience. You got somebody buying, and somebody just tell you this thing just got finished. Or ilisha jana. Why does that happen in business? Again, it's poor planning, where you don't know the stock levels of your business. You don't know when you need what, when customers require what. So we say planning become a very important thing in such times, in such uncertainties, because if I plan well, like if you're in business, for those who sell commodities that move fast in December, it's high time you start planning now, and you look at, where do I get extra money that will enable me to sell more, because we know the season. I was talking to our customer today, and he's talking about, how they sell, and they don't know where to put that cash, because the banks are closed, and that's the season they sell good money. and he was giving an experience in one of the Decembers. He had sort of 1 million, trying to go to one bank to being told, no, you have to say the source of the money. And, she just left with the cash because she wanted to deposit and go back to collect more. So it's very important to understand the season, because that's one thing we fail. We don't understand the season. That's around budgeting. I can also talk about debt management, because that's another thing area. During this tough time, it's not the best time to enter to borrowing more. It's not. And recession, we are not expecting a lot of cash flow, or the ability of people to spend might be even lower than the times we are living in. So we're expecting, if it is not really necessary, especially borrowing for what we call consumption, don't borrow to consume. And consumption is anything that you are doing with them, that money that will not give you money back. If you are borrowing to invest, if you are borrowing to put money in somewhere that is going to give you more money, that is good. And if your calculations are correct, but don't borrow to gamble, don't borrow to consume, don't borrow to try something. The way we love trying. Wacha nijaribu hii. I saw somebody else yake ikienda through. You're not that somebody. You don't know what they did. So it's very important to do very wise decisions. So what you can be able to pay off, especially when you have more, it's very important to do, because you don't know which sector will be affected by what. And but we are hopeful that it will be better for our country. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope the audience, you're picking on some pointers, wisdom, and some of your pointers are a rebuke. Umenikumbusha, my grandmother used to tell me, panya anakuuma alafu anakupuliza so that haujui anakuumauma miguu. That's what you are doing to us.
No, I'm talking about the reality on the, it's very important to know that too, because if there are people that sometimes has been tough for us, I think, I don't know what is wrong with that, especially the Christian body. I've never understood why it comes to issues of money. We really take into consideration many things. Yes, we are optimistic. We do that, but we also need to plan. We are not very good in planning. We are not very good stewards. Let me say that. I've talked to many churches on stewardship and many people on stewardship, but just as in Matthew 25, the parable of the talents, most Christians follow in the one talent person, the person who don't want to utilize the talent. It's talking about, the 3, the 5. Why are you not utilizing that? Yeah. Yeah, that's a challenge to us.
May the Lord help us. So a few things I picked. One, that's rebuke Nilia. Do you even have a plan you are committing to God? Because the Bible is clear, commit your plans to God. And so that's a question I'm posing to all of us. Do you have a financial plan that you're committing to God? George has also talked about budget. So he's given up some pointers on how to prepare and how to go through this one. Budget. Do you have a budget you are sticking to? The other thing that he has finished with is don't dig into debts. As much as possible, clear your debts. And he's advising that maybe the only reason he would allow, or he would advise you consider to borrow, is if you are doing that for a venture that is bringing money but not to consume. Okay, sawa. And by the way, your concern is, I think this is where we are lost, George, where, that phrase yenye huwa tunatumia, we are in God's economy. You are testifying that you have seen many Christians, we are not good stewards. And if you looked at other people who are ideally not followers of Jesus, they are growing in wealth and all that because they are now prudent. They are good stewards, where we are lost into God's economy and we are not being, realistic and putting things into place, practical plans on how to, if it is to grow wealth or to live our lives with what God has entrusted us. I think that's the big issue that we have. And I hope as we engage this, it is sorting us out.
Yeah, and today, let me share my today experiences. Some of the people I was visiting, they're not people who are Christian. They're people we consider not. Those who are saying people who. But one thing I've learned with them, I've seen fathers releasing the business to their sons. In two places I went, the father was telling me, deal with my son. Another one, I will speak with my daughters, you see, and passing on the mantles to the next generation. We tend to live with so many secrets that the secret of the business, you don't want to release it to the children. You don't want your spouse to know. So those secrets sometimes they haunt us because the growth of the business is purely dependent on on you. And we don't want so much, and these people, we can learn a lot from them. They have entrusted businesses and the growth of their businesses to their children, and the children will leave it to the other children. Let's look at the Bible. When you look at Father Abraham, a father of faith, he was a very rich person. Yeah. And then we see Jacob. We see, that generation, from one generation to the other, they did a lot of things. The same thing we can talk about David and Solomon and many others. They were not poor people. I've never known who said that Christianity, it's good, being humble, it usually see as false humility. You don't want to look like you have money, and you don't want to talk about finance issues.
Inasema Christianity is the opium of the poor or something around that.
Yeah, the opium of it's anyway of the masses, religion. It's about religion being the opium of the masses. But we are not called to that. We are not called to the big that. I think in Focus, one of the things I love about Focus, Fellowship of Christian Union, I've interacted with billionaires who are Christian, who are born again, confessing kingdom and doing very great in business. And they really challenge me to become the better person, the better me. And they are not shy to say to do great things for the kingdom. We still talk about kingdom matters, and they are born again professors. We have people who are doing good business. So it's not about that, and I think it's false humility when you want to hide and you don't want to talk about real issues that are happening in our lives. When you don't do that, I think we are not being real, and sometimes that's why I usually say it become tough on God when you have all these lineup people who are not even sure of what they want, and praying those prayers, bless me with with what are heavenly blessings. What are those things that we pray? It becomes very tough even for God. And I usually give this example. You have two people coming to you. Somebody say, give me a glass of water. And somebody says, give me anything that you have. Who will you sort first? Nimrod. Who will you sort?
Clear, I'll just
Why?
go fetch.
Why you are mad? He's very specific. He knows what he wants. Do Miss Christian, do they know what they want? Yeah. What are your 3 years? What is your plan? 5 year, 1 year? Do you have such plans? Do plans really exist in our lives? ama tunaishi kwa imani?
Amen.
No, it's not imani. Yes, we live by faith, but also we need to plan. We really need to look at this time, because remember that person in the Bible. It's Jesus who condemned. It's God who condemned this man. He had harvested a lot. He put everything in stores and said, "Let me sit down, relax, and eat and drink." What happened? Bible says, it's all about the you fool. You don't have a life. Yet this person had harvested a lot. He had a bumper harvest. But God says you not enjoy them. Because of what? Because of the way of thinking. No, that's the end of work. That I will not work again. You know,
Mm.
that kind of foolishness God does not condone. And He said, "You fool, even what you have, you not." So the Bible
Mm.
talks more about planning. It talk about doing better and better every now and then. Doesn't talk about being stagnant. It does not talk about people not having clarity of life. Talking about in fact what you are facing now. And I see Kenyans mocking Christians, mocking God, mocking about that. Yes, I love to be. I will not denounce my Christianity because people are mocking God. I know God. I've applied this God kingdom principles, and I know you can be blessed in the kingdom, and you can have money and wealth in the kingdom. And what you are talking about, they are not made. They are things that can be done. They are things that God
Mm.
has entrusted it to us. And that's why I love talking about stewardship and people preparing for those uncertainties, because they are there. They come. They come to us.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Now the second last, is there I think you have already talked a lot about some of the biblical concept and stories we can identify with as we talk about recession and inflation. But is there one that maybe you could talk about? I shared from the preliminary of this meeting, I talked about Joseph helping out Egypt with the time that there was drought and all that. Do you have another biblical concept or a story that we can identify with? Yeah.
It may not be directive, but there's a one time there was a sage in Samaria. You remember the story of the 40, and the situation was bad. Look at how people used to eat the head of the donkey. The cost of it was so high, and they talk about what the cost of the dove's dung was also being used to. People used to eat anything that was consumable during that time, and you see, the thing was so bad for them. And God says all the situation had to change. And so they are there. There are those stories. We can also talk about the story of Elijah and the 3 years drought. So a prolonged period of lack they have ever happened. And even what took the Israelites to Egypt, it was drought. It was a season of lack. It's a season of luck. So you see the effect when you don't have, if you don't have, you have not planned well. If things like this persist in our lives, we become slaves to those who have. And that's why it was very easy for, Jacob and his family, the 72 of them going, they didn't want to become slaves. But the luck, they made them to fall to what we had, a 430 years stay as slaves. So yeah, those things happen, and they are there in the Bible. And I usually say the Bible is leading to us so that we can prepare for such season, and it both bad and good moments. They're there. They're there, and they are written. They should be there. And even Matthew 24 talk about the wars. When we read those things that they will happen, we usually think, people don't attach the biblical happenings, the prophetic happening, with the current situation that we have. Jesus talked about them, rumors of war and the wars. which you're already experiencing. So, and the effect of the wars and all that is what we have in the recession, and it's happened to it's a global effect. It's not a Kenyan effect. It's a global effect, which it means that I need to be extra careful with what I have, and that's what we're talking about: planning, savings, living as low as possible with debt, so that I can be a better person. Whatever I have, we can be able to save. Remember, the people who are buying the donkey head, if they didn't have the 80 pieces of silver, you have money and you can't buy food. Yeah, the 4 lepers, and you see the situation, the levers of it. What really happened after the 4 lepers comes in, and there is abundant. All of a sudden, the prices went down. So it's very important to understand the seasons, because we have for every time there is a recession or a downtime in economy, what proceed before, it's a season of having. And just as you quoted how God advised Joseph, and I love the book of Genesis and the concept of savings from Joseph. 7 years of abundance, 7 years of. If Joseph did not guide, those people did not save for those 7 other years, what could have happened? And you see, when I read this story, it's usually very funny. The Egyptians was bringing food to Joseph, to the silos that they had created. And when the years of lack came in, they used all the money they had until they didn't have any money. They used their livestock until they had none, and at last they gave their lands. And that's why the concept of government taxation came in. And now they ask, let everything we have belong to the Pharaoh. And the concept of government taxing the people and all that. And they are the same people who are supplied this food to the government. Yeah. So what if everybody had its own savings? Where would have government gotten there? And even other countries coming to buy from Egypt. And Egypt has been doing that since that. Remember, it's a desert, and up to date, Egypt can still supply us with food because we are not as good as they are in using the natural resources that are with us. We have so much.
Yeah.
God has really blessed us with a nation, a very good country with so many rivers. I live in the coast. Go along River Sabaki. What is happening? We're expecting to have a lot of maize by now, but we don't. People are begging for food. Why? We have rivers, freshwater rivers, not the ocean. We have Tana River, we have Sabaki River, we have Garana Kuraru project. Why should we be talking about hunger in these times, especially in some of these counties? God has given us resources, but we are not utilizing them well or better. Yes. So sometimes some of the things God help, or some of the things that we go through, is just to push us to think and to know how better we can be able to overcome this. Israel is in desert, Egypt is in desert, Ethiopia is doing more from irrigation, Tanzania they are doing more, Uganda, a very small country than us, but we borrow, we buy maize from them, and so on. We can name them.
Karibu nikuulize, I feel like we have a spiritual attack as a nation.
It's a spiritual awakening. It's a spiritual awakening, not attack.
May the Lord help us. Ni kama we were bewitched and the bewitcher died, but we shall.
No, yeah.
No, the Lord help us in the nation. Yes. Thank you so much for that. And actually, there's a lot in the Bible where we see people requiring wisdom of God to navigate through season. And I pray that all of us will consider some of the some of the nuggets of wisdom that George has shared with us to consider. Yeah, and just a reminder also, one of the things that I have remembered you have shared is that we need to differentiate between our wants and needs. This is not a time to buy things that are not necessary, and prioritize saving, but also to think through some of the things we can do to cut cost. Kama unaweza panda boga or something, just something that will reduce your spending, your daily spending. And so it's something you need to take time to think through. Yeah, so George, your parting shot before you give us your parting shot, let me ask the people in the room if they have any question, and then you handle 2 questions, and then you, as you answer them, you give us your parting shot.
Okay.
Anyone in the room that they have a question, you can raise your hand up. Pastor Nelson will help you unmute. Okay, Pastor Nelson, you can help Margaret unmute. Yes, Margaret, go ahead and ask your question or a suggestion. What is it? It's a question.
Yes, mine is a question. And how do we help, apart from the budget and saving and planning on a personal level? How are we able to recover as a nation? Like now when you have unemployment in masses, we have businesses that have closed down, and we're now in an era whereby we have so many youth, the productive age, that don't have so much to do as at now. How can we be able to be able to come together and recover together? Because I want to believe that since money, there is that cash flow, you cannot be able to just to do it on your part and you alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. As a nation, thank you for that question. As a nation, one of the greatest contributor to employment in any economy, it's the MSME, what we call the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And so in our capacity as individuals, yes, the solution lies with us. And one of the aspects we are encouraging people is through, when you have people who are managing their businesses better, you can be able to have 1 or 2 people you are working with. And one of the intervention we have is training small and medium enterprises to become better. And that's one of the things I think I never shared about one of the program we do, the SIYB program, Nimrod, you're asking. We train people on how to start and how to improve your business, because we totally believe as we have those people who already invested in business, if they're able to improve on what they are doing, if they're able to improve their business better, out of the instances that I've shared today, I saw people, maybe a little wholesaler who has employed 10, 20, 30 people, and everybody is busy in doing business. With an employment of the youth, with all many things happening, the secret still believe the solutions still come to us. Because if we have many people doing investment and doing their business right, not just doing business, but doing the businesses right, yes, we can be able to have some of these, especially unemployment, it can be able to be cured. And that also help us. When you employ that youth, other than giving them money, they're able to cater for their needs. Because people are in need, and we talk about unemployment because I'm not able to meet my needs as an individual, and so I will be at the masses of those who are already employed. And so that's why, as many of us, especially if you are here, you are Christian, you are able to invest, you're able to start something, you can be able to do that. When I say we do training, that's what we do a lot. I work at EPT, and we do a lot of training and a lot of empowerment to see people having better businesses, having better version of themselves, such that when you have a better version of you, you can be able to create employment for more. That's what we do. That's one of the solutions we have, and one of the areas that have been neglected by. I also encourage youth, especially the youth. If you can be able to join a place as an intern, they may not be giving you a lot of money, but accepting to be taught in job training, what I call apprenticeship, it's very important to go through those. There is the internship government that the government offers to the graduates, but some of them may not be graduates, but there are those other opportunities that arises. It may not be giving you what you want, but you may be able to help you cater your needs so that we don't become very choosy of what job we want to do. And if you can be able to do business in a small way or in a big way, it is very important to do something other than sitting. Today I met a young man who is very healthy, and he was telling me, I need money to take tea. It was early in the morning, and it could have been better if he told me, now you're parked and your car has dust. Let me remove the dust and you pay me, or you give me something. For those who volunteer to do that, it's very easy to deal with them. But a strong young man who just sit begging at the street, I'm not comfortable. That life is not sustainable. But if they are doing something that is productive, we met in the morning. Later on, at around 3, that was one corner of Malindi. We met again at around 3 in another corner, still asking me why I didn't give him breakfast. And I told him I'm still looking. I'm also in the business of looking for that breakfast. So, as in having productive life, that's what, yeah. If we can have people who are productive, we'll be able to cater some of these things. I hope I've answered.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you, George. Charles, you had lifted up your hand. Pastor Nelson, please help Charles to ask the question, if he's still around. Charles has left. Okay, he had a question, but he has left. Okay, so
There's
Noven,
another hand.
Noven, help Noven to unmute.
Hello. Hello,
Hi.
George. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So I have a question. Okay, thank you. Could you help us break it down, the percentages that we can use for savings? That is one, and the budgeting, and then also another clarity on, sometimes we find it that in our society, people will only save money, maybe based on how much can they get for the loans. So they use the money they're saving as a security for loans, but I don't think that works as an investment for them. They're only guaranteeing themselves that they can get loans because they'll be given maybe thrice as much as what they have saved, but they don't have something liquid. Could you please talk about that?
And
Thank you.
That is Riziki. Riziki, you are the one behind Noven's icon.
Yes, we both of us.
Okay. George.
That's a big question. Let me say why we save. Why you should save. We save because of four. We classify them as 4 broad areas. We save because we have what we call expected needs. There are things that we expect to happen in the near future. That's one thing, or what we call the expected future events. That's one thing that for example, if you are in school, I need like school fees, I need something to buy. That's how expected. You save because of that. We also save for what we call the unexpected future events. There are things that happens, but we don't know when really they will happen. An example of something like sickness, where we have savings in terms of things like the medical health, the NHIF and such. We have saving for unexpected, that's another occurrence. We also save because of emergencies. And the fourth thing is we save because we want to accumulate wealth. So out of those, you see, people just take the issue of accumulating wealth. Now, in this case, the model you're talking about is where I join a circle and I'll be given twice or thrice the saving. You see, the motive of saving, the goals of saving is to get a loan. That's one way of saving. But you are saying saving should be deliberate because of those four broad areas, which under every category I've talked about, you can talk about many things. When I talk about expected future, for example, one of the things that you'll do, we expect to retire, a long time thing. So people don't, especially the youth, if you ask them about it and they don't think even about it, but that's an expected future. Yeah. So you can save. I'll give an example of a scheme by government called the Bao pension. I don't know how many have heard about it. Nibra, have you ever heard about the Bao pension?
No, it's a new revelation.
Just Google Bao. When the government said started that pension some years back, it was because of people who are in Juakari who are not necessarily in any pension scheme. And it was encouraging people to save 20 bob per day. That's why it's called Bao. Bao is from 20 bob. To save 20 bob. If you save 20 bob for 30 years, that's the smallest they were thinking, that as in Bao, and I've seen those bows work. Sometimes I've withdrawn 100 or even up to, you can withdraw up to 200 because after 3 years they allow you to withdraw with the interest, whatever that was there. When I saw it in the showground, I go to the show to learn new things and new what is happening. It's something that you do, hizo change unapata, unaziweka, and it's because it's deliberate. It helps you to grow in your, that's a small way. But the other schemes that are higher than that you can do that. And even in that scheme, that's the minimum, even 10 bob, sometimes I put, and it helps you to do that. So it's something that somebody can do, but you have to purpose to do that. On percentage, when you have money in your budget, there are 4 people that you're supposed to be budgeting for, or 4 people who are looking for your money. We have what we call paying God, what we do in tithe offering and philanthropic work. Yeah, that's part of people looking for your money. We also about paying government. Government does not, if you're employed, does not ask you how much you want to take. They take even before you decide. They take in a katwa juu kwa juu. And then there is paying others. Paying others, now that's what we look at. I'm talking about budgeting, where we spend a lot of money on, many people and all that. And then we have the issue of paying yourself. Paying yourself is what you're now talking about, the savings, the investment decision you're making, the Bao pension you're talking about. But when is the last time you paid yourself for the money that you are working for? We forget about ourselves. And many people think like, nimeenda kumbia mwili pole, nimeenda kutoa mwili stress, that's that kind of, that's how you're paying. No, you don't. When you go to an entertainment joint, you are paying others. People are happy because of your money. And when it comes to budget, I usually ask people, I don't know if you are paying rent, for example, you're going to pay the rent road. We rarely forget that. We rarely forget, that's the irony of life. How much to invest for myself? It become ironic. So on percentage, I will say if you work on if you work on paying others, because that's where, if you work on your needs and wants, I will say 20 to 30%. If you can be able to do 20 to 30, it's ideal. But people will do as much as 50%, savings from what they have. So savings is all depend with your budget and how you prioritize the things that you want to do. Maybe something else I can say, don't just put money aside. You're putting that money to do what? Your savings need to be defined, because lack of defining that money, people know saving like now because of maybe taking a loan, but you can save because of those other things. I want to buy like maybe 3,000 shares by the end of the year, or 1,000 shares, or 100,000, or whatever types of my investment. You can save in the money market, for example. You can save in, maybe that's another area, maybe in Ibro, you create time, we discuss about investment and where to put your money in. So when you have the why of saving, it will give you the motivation to save. So on that area, I will say